So throughout the week, the Washington Commanders community has been in a uproar because of the topic about Terry McLaurin and him not producing. We're used to Terry McLaurin being on pace for 1,000 yards, and through the first 2 weeks of the season, he's been at an extremely low reception and receiving yard rate. However, this was brought to offensive Kliff Kingsbury's attention, and he had this to say. Let's talk about it.
The way that we live is not for everybody. We're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she fly for him, the shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's on.
You know what time it is. It's time to come out.
I love the way she move it, shake it on me.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here with the video where we're going to be talking about Washington Commanders offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury speaking on why and whose fault it is for Terry McLaurin's receptions and receiving numbers being as low as they have been through the first 2 weeks of the season. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers. Please help me get there as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Let's get straight into today's video. So I first want to start by saying this, right? So the other night I went live and I was talking about how I'm getting worried about Terry McLaurin. And I was saying that because a lot of the community has started to turn their backs on Terry McLaurin because he hasn't produced through the first 2 weeks of the season. And I'm not going to lie to you, Twitter was getting a little to my head because I'm like, dang, man, maybe they're right about Terry. You know, maybe he isn't all this and all that. So I had to accept, for my personal opinion on Terry McLaurin, love him to death. My favorite player on the team. Got 2 of his jerseys, including a high school jersey. Terry McLaurin, to me, throughout the years, I've always tried to put him in the discussion of A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, all the big name, tough receivers, elite receivers. I always said, no, Terry's a part of that crew. And I had to realize that's just not the case. That's not to say Terry isn't elite. That is not to say Terry isn't a wide receiver 1 or he's not really good. Terry is really good. He's just not on the level of those super elite wide receivers. And I had to finally accept that this season. But some of the stuff that I've been seeing about Terry has been ridiculous. He's garbage. He's trash. He's this, and that. Some of y'all are ridiculous for y'all opinion on Terry McLaurin. Other people, shout out to my man Off to Another World. I gotta give him a shout out. I have to read his comment on air here. He put it perfectly how I feel a lot of reasonable fans feel about Terry McLaurin. I'm gonna go ahead and read you guys this comment from Off to Another World on Terry McLaurin and what he said about the topic that we talked about the other night on live, because to me it felt exactly how a lot of fans feel about Terry. He says this: no turning on him for me. Terry is definitely a solid wide receiver. He's got speed, physicality, and decent hands. But from the beginning, I'm looking for more wiggle and explosion in a number 1 receiver that creates the separation and explosiveness, explosive plays we've seen out of guys we would consider elite. Guys like Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and from what I saw this weekend, Malik Neighbors. Of course, you got guys like Lamb, Jefferson, Evans, and Adams that I would consider elite as far as separation and the ability to get wide open no matter the coverage, along with Hill and Chase. And they don't need help doing it. Terry has straight line speed and runs great routes, but I don't think he's got elite wide receiver skills like the guys I just mentioned. None of those guys are going to be taken out of games like Terry seems to from time to time. I actually think Terry is the number 1 2 wide receiver in the league, but he's been taught about as a number one by the same organization that taught it Jahan as a number two. Don't get me wrong. I love Terry's play, and the fact that he's been able to gain 1,000 yards each season with trash QB play speaks a lot about him. But for me, wide receivers one can take screen passes and turn into a running back and make the first man miss and take it to another 15, 20 yards. Hill, Chase can do that naturally. Again, shout out to my man Off to Another World. This was a really good comment, because that's exactly how I and many other fans feel about Terry McLaurin. Terry does not possess the God-given talent that Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, all these other guys possess. Terry had to work for where he's at. He wasn't highly touted out of high school. He wasn't much of a factor in college. He barely got the scholarship. And in the third round pick, he thought he was going to be a special teams guy. So we have to maybe think Terry maybe overachieved. He overachieved what he was supposed to be in this league, and that is great. Terry has done so much more than what was to be expected of him. Got him a second contract, Pro Bowl, captain. You know, he's done well for himself. And the only thing that I feel like is a big reason why we're having this conversation is two things. I feel like he got off to a rough start in week one. If Jaden Daniels hits him in stride down the sideline for a touchdown, we're probably not having this conversation. If Terry McLaurin was 25 years old, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But for the simple fact that he's 29, pushing 30, and he's off to a slow start this season, that is why we're having this discussion about Terry McLaurin. Terry, at this point, who cares if he's a number one or number two receiver? I think we care more than Terry does. Terry just wants to win. He doesn't have an ego. He doesn't cry for the football. Remember, Terry McLaurin says he loves blocking more than he loves making a good reception on a pass. So we as fans are putting more energy into trying to make it out to be like Terry's either trash or he's really good. Terry just wants to win. And I feel like that's what we want. We should want as a team. No matter if Terry McLaurin's a number one, number two, number three. No matter who's out there on the burgundy go, we should just want to win like Terry does. To me, Terry McLaurin still has the ability to be a number one, or in this case, a very high number two if we get help around him. Terry just doesn't possess, as Elton of the World says it, the talent that these God-given first-round picks possess. And that's okay. That's okay. Terry's a third-round pick that made a career for himself. Now, as far as what Kliff Kingsbury had to say today in his press conference, he took full accountability for not getting Terry McLaurin the ball. You know, a lot of people, like myself, always says year in and year out, why do we never give Terry McLaurin the ball? At what point do we start to point the finger at Terry McLaurin and say maybe it's Terry as the reason why he's not getting the ball? And I don't think that's the case anymore. At first, I was like, maybe the other night. But then after watching the film and seeing that he still gets open, he still creates separation, the quarterback is just not giving him the ball on some plays. That's why I said, you know what? I agree with some points that people are making about Terry, but also there's some things that I still know Terry McLaurin could do if he's given the targets. So Kliff Kingsbury said the team has to get Terry McLaurin more involved on offense. We got to find a way to get Terry more involved. That's on me. He's a fantastic player. And every single time that we hear this from an offensive coordinator, whether it's now Kliff Kingsbury, Eric Bieniemy, Scott Turner, anytime we hear that, because we've been dealing with this for years with Terry, is why does Terry McLaurin not get the ball so much as these other wide receivers ones get him in the league? He's going to have a good game this week. They're going to make an assertive effort to get Terry McLaurin the football, whether it's through a slant, drag, screen, whatever. They're going to make an assertive effort to get him the ball. The thing about them is they have to do it on a consistent basis. And I know I'm in the middle. I'm neutral. That's why I'm looking at it from both sides. I'm looking at it from the side of, oh, Terry McLaurin may not just be good. to slash he's a very good wide receiver too. And I'm also looking at it from the side of the fan bases that's like, man, he just isn't getting the targets how he deserves. How can you truly say that he's not a number one receiver if he's not getting the opportunities if they won't throw him the football? So I'm neutral in it. I just want to sit back and wait till Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels figure it out. If they do, the only thing that I'm openly admitting about my stance on Terry McLaurin that I've changed, and I said that on a live stream, is that he's just not top 5. He's not super elite how I thought he was. I always went to bat for Terry against guys like DK Metcalf and all these other guys. I would say, no, he's better. And I'm just accepting that due to age, due to productivity. He's just not those kind of guys. But that's not to say that he's not really good. That's not to say that he's not elite. That's not to say that he's not a 1,000-yard receiver. But there is a reason why Washington potentially is interested in adding more to this wide receiver room. Now, I want to see how a guy like Noah Brown thrives, because although Terry McLaurin isn't getting the production that he should be getting, or we at least want to see out of him, it's a reason why guys like Noah Brown are getting open, because Terry still has a name in this league. Teams still go into the game planning to stop 17. So why is Noah Brown so open across the middle of the field? Because 2 people are checking Terry McLaurin, safety and a corner. So that's why, for me, I feel like we're putting too much into it, because it's still early in the season. It's only week 2, and I feel like we care more than Terry cares. I guarantee you go to Terry McLaurin locker last Sunday, he not tripping off his 36-yard receptions or 36 yards that he had. He's happy that he got the win. And that's the kind of player that Terry is. I'm pretty sure if Terry McLaurin was a diva, if he was a guy that cared more about himself and his stats, he would have been through a fit on the sideline, would have went up to the coaches years ago saying, I want the ball. That's not him. That's why you never hear Terry's name in trade discussions, or you never hear his teammates talking bad about him, a divide in the locker room, because that's not who Terry McLaurin is. Terry McLaurin is the hardest working team player that I know. He's all for his team. And that's why we take care of guys like him. That's why Terry's able to put up the yards that he puts up. Granted, 1,000 yards is still an accomplishment, but it ain't crazy numbers, but it's still good. Do I think we need to add more to this room? You dang right I do. Would I love to have a Malik Neighbors? You dang right I do. But we just don't at this point. And I feel like we did that because, one, we didn't know Jahan Dotson was going to flame out. That was the last regime's pick. They thought highly of De'Ami Brown. They think highly of Noah Brown. They think highly of Olamide Zaccheaus and obviously Terry McLaurin. I think we just got to let the season play out. Again, it's only week 2. If we're having this same discussion weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, okay, then I'd be like, all right. But it's only week 2. And I think part of us needs to just let it play out, let the offense develop. That's what I had to learn how to do. I was so reactive with Kliff's offense and saying how slow it is and how short the game is. He's just making it simple for Jaden Daniels. And again, I'm a fan. I react in the moment at times. And some things I don't agree with. Some things I don't agree with. Some things I do agree with. And I'm going to let you guys know how I feel in the moment. But after assessing, after watching film, after doing my research, and after coming to understanding with some things, I'd be like, okay, this is why they did this. This is why they did that. So I just say, y'all, chill out. Watch the games, let it develop throughout the season, and we'll see where we'll go from there. But it's still really early. But I do understand some of you guys' frustration. I do understand some of you guys' thoughts. Like Off to Another World, I agree with that comment wholeheartedly. And Kliff Kingsbury is probably going to make an assertive effort to give Terry McLaurin the ball now. And I love that. Just do it on a consistent basis. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys check out promo code JuanGotti on SeatGeek to get $20 off your first purchase. As always, it's me, boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. Want to over to 8,000 subscribers. I'd be greatly appreciated if you reach that goal as soon as possible. I'll be live on the channel tonight. Make sure you guys tune in for that, 7, 8 p.m. See y'all later. Peace.